Hi, everybody. So, one thing that I have noticed, this is Miss Robinson, by the way, in case you can't tell. One thing that I've noticed that a lot of my students struggle with is the body paragraph. At my school, we call these quote sandwiches. And we do that because the topic sentence, which should be the first sentence, is the first slice of bread. And the last sentence should be the concluding sentence, which should be the bottom slice of bread. And then everything in between should be either evidence or commentary on that evidence. And that's really the meat of each paragraph. So one thing that I wanted to do today is I wanted to review with you / my students what is required for a really good body paragraph. This is a template. Even though it says explanatory body paragraph up here, as you can see it says explanatory, it can also be used for argumentative. So I want you to remember that. This template can also be used for argumentative body paragraphs. And that's important because this is the most important part of your essay. And I'm trying to give you a tool that you can use in pretty much any type of essay. So I want to review the different parts really quickly. The first thing that you should see is a topic sentence. And I have here, and if you're in my class, this should be under the About section on Google Classroom if you would like to take a look at it. But I have here some templates for topic sentences. And what topic sentences should do is they should tell you what that paragraph is going to be about. They should not present new evidence. They should not present new evidence. So you should not start a body paragraph with, according to the New York Times, and then your quote. You should not. That comes later. You should start it with a simple explanation of what that paragraph is going to address. So the first thing that this paragraph is going to address, or that any paragraph could address, is an aspect or way or idea of doing something. If you're doing an argumentative quote sandwich, you could also say one of the best reasons for or reasons why ... And then you could explain a reason that supports your overall claim. Here, these support your controlling idea. This right here supports your claim, which is in an argument essay. A controlling idea is in an explanatory essay. Hopefully you see the difference. So if you don't know the difference, you can always email me. But if you're in my class, you should know. The next thing you have is citation. So before you incorporate your first quote, you need to tell us where it came from. And the best way to do that is to have the author. So you should include the author at minimum. If you do not have the author, use the text name. So you can have the author and the title. As you see here, it says in the article, and then it has the title, blah, blah, like the person's name states. But if you don't have the author, then you can also say the title name. So you could say something like, in the article, well, no, you wouldn't want to say that, sorry. Messed up. The article, blah, 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 claims. Or you could say the author of the article claims. And that gets out of having to say the author's name, but you're still acknowledging that the author is the one talking. Next, you have your quote, then your commentary. And commentary is where you explain what the quote means. You're doing two things. You're explaining what the quote means, and you are also connecting the quote back to bigger ideas or consequences or outcomes. So I force my students to have 2 pieces of evidence, 2 quotes per body paragraph. So you'll see that it says quote, citation. So that's citation for quote 2, and then commentary for quote 2. And then finally, a concluding sentence. And this is supposed to wrap up your entire body paragraph. Now, remember, these body paragraphs come in the middle of your essay. So this is not wrapping up your entire paragraph, nor is your topic sentence introducing your entire paragraph. I say that because I do have some students who, for some reason, forget that there are things called introduction paragraphs and conclusion paragraphs, even though we've written them, so I have to clarify. I have 2 templates right here. So you could say, therefore, blank is essential to remember or understand because, or so it is important to know blank because. These are not things that you have to use. They're just optional. So there's that. So I want to look at an actual student example before I say goodbye. I stole this from a student's paper. So if this is you, congratulations. I'm using your paper as an example. I'm going to identify the parts for you. So the first thing that we want to identify, if we go back here, is the topic sentence. Here is our topic sentence. One of the ways separation of powers affects the U.S. government is by affecting the executive branch. Now, I would make this more specific because just affecting and affecting is a little broad. I would make it more specific, but I chose this paragraph because the structure is on point. Next, according to Jason, I don't know. I'm not going to try his last name. According to Jason, so-and-so, an author on the website study.com, sorry, Jason, if you're seeing this, the U.S. president can be impeached. So we have the citation for quote 1 here. The student properly used citation. Go you. They told us the author because they knew the author's name. And they did a good job with that. Now here, this is a creative use of ellipses because if you're in my class, you know that quotes have to be 7 words or fewer. So the quote is 1, 2, 3, 6 words. If I count U and S as separate, it would be 7. But good quote length. And this is quote 1. Next, from this we can infer that if the president is abusing the power allotted him, the legislative branch has the power to put them on trial. I think they meant him. But still, this is a good example of suggesting consequences. So this is commentary, and it suggests consequences. And that is what commentary is supposed to do. Note that the student did not simply explain the meaning. They actually suggested consequences. So I'm going to say, good job for going beyond the meaning of the quote. Good job for going beyond rewording the quote. Because this student made an inference that the president would be impeached or put on trial if he or she were abusing the power allotted to him or her. Okay, continuing. This is a positive way that separation of powers is used because if the leader of our country decides to abuse the power granted to him or her, he can be impeached and from there lose his right to be president. So again, this student added another sentence of commentary, and I'm okay with that. And they went beyond the basic meaning. Good job going beyond the basic meaning of the quote. They, again, suggested outcomes. I know that's a fragment. Sorry. Moving on to quote 2. This is a citation for quote 2 in the words of James Piffner. So I'm going to label that so you guys know what I'm saying. Citation for quote 2. This student gave the author's name. The president has the ability to pardon criminals. Again, this is a bit of a creative use of ellipses, and 8 words, but still decently trimmed quote. Again, this student has 2 quotes per body paragraph, and that is my minimum. If you are in my class, 2 pieces of evidence per body paragraph. In other words, so we're moving on to the commentary now. In other words, the president can go up to a random criminal and decide they are free. This is a negative effect of the separation of powers because it gives the president the power to pardon people who have done something wrong, and then they do not have to pay punishment for it. I think the student did a great job of using commentary to suggest negative effects or outcomes. Now, obviously, you can suggest positive effects and outcomes, neutral effects and outcomes, but again, the student didn't just reword what pardoning a criminal means, but he or she suggested the effect of that. And this isn't even an argument essay, even though it sounds like it. It's not, because in a different paragraph, the student explained positive effects of the separation of powers. So the students were showing both negative and positives of the separation of powers. So I thought that was great. And finally, the separation of powers has both beneficial and adverse effects to the legislative branch. Again, I want them to get a bit more creative, but the student did neatly wrap up this paragraph. So this is kind of what I'm thinking as I go through these body paragraphs. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have a suggestion for a video that would help you to review how to write, how to prepare for the FSA writing test, any of that, send me an email. My email's right there. So, yeah. All right. Thanks. Bye.